It is your post-match reaction for Everton 0, Aston Villa 2. Straight to the Denbigh Castle today. I didn't think anybody in the ground would want to hear Aston Villa fans singing about poverty when the team's winning away from home. So straight here, I've got Matt Flush, Keith Tomlin, Mark Mosey, Dave Downey's going to join us soon as well. Mose, I'll come to you first, mate. Even game decided by one good striker and one good substitution, I thought, and unfortunately Everton have got neither of those things.
Yeah, I agree with the even game. I think it very much gave the feeling of there for the taking for the vast majority of it. We are unfortunately just absolutely dreadful in the attacking third, whether that's Mopé or any other cog in that system. We are just not a team that is set up to score football goals at the moment, and that is incredibly dangerous for a team that currently sits in the relegation zone. I don't know what the answer is to the obvious question, but Neil Mopé is not it. I think we are very much at that point now whereby simply any other alternative has to be trialled, whether that's Damari Gray, whether that's again a relatively seemingly not good enough Ellis Sims, albeit we've seen very little of him. But it is now time to change things up and see a different dimension to Everton's attack. So much of the first half I thought was encouraging. Not only Everton's relatively okay play, but Aston Villa's insistency on playing out from the back. I thought that they were just waiting for Everton to pick them off. I found their mentality and their tactics stressful, and I am not an Aston Villa fan, so what the 3,000 Aston Villa fans were thinking, God only knows. They unfortunately were, regardless of what your opinion is on the penalty decision, I think it was a fairly clumsy challenge for Idrissa Gueye to make. Ollie Watkins never looked like he was going to miss when given an opportunity. And the second goal was the reason why you don't play two ageing centre-halves in a game that you're chasing. They allow the ball to come onto them. Emi Buendia breezes past Conor Cody like he's not there. And, they are fine margins, but they are the fine margins between us all sitting here happy that we're 13th or 14th in the league and managing to put a bit of air between ourselves and the relegation zone. And now looking at the fixture list with anxiety again of, every single game, be it home or away, looking very difficult. An incredibly frustrating day. And I honestly don't think we've been beaten by a team as mediocre as them at Goodison Park for quite a while.
I mean, even Southampton and Wolves.
I mean, I'll caveat that by saying we've been beaten by absolutely everyone. But no, I think the reasoning behind me saying that is that I always felt that if any team was going to take advantage of a relatively lacklustre game and kind of change gear and go on and win it was going to be us. It felt as though we were just missing that extra couple of percent to go on and win the game. And I think to kind of hopelessly play out the last 15 or 20 minutes, not even looking like we were going to get a consolation goal, is such a contrast to a first half that promised so much, didn't it? I mean, it really... I sat down at half-time and thought, if we only get a point here, we'll look back at this as a missed opportunity. We hardly got a kick in the last 15 minutes, and the contrast between so nearly and so far away, that can't exist. We have to remain in games when it isn't going our way, and I think that's the one thing that's disappointing me today. And even when Aston Villa went one goal ahead on 65-ish, I thought we are very much still in this. If we get one before 80, we can go on and win it. I did not think at that point that we would waste 15 or 20 minutes just watching Emi Martinez rolling around on the floor, but that's ultimately how it ended up.
I'll say this for Emi Martinez: he is an absolute master of shithousing. Like, there is nobody in the league that can do it as well as him. Agree with largely with Mose there. It was a very even game. Up until the penalty, Everton were probably the better side. Like, they probably edged it and made a couple of chances, half chances. If you take them, if you're a bit more decisive in front of goal, get your noses in front, it's a different game. once the penalty came, and I'm sure we'll deal with the penalty in itself, but once the penalty came and once they went in front, Everton had to come out the shells a bit, and we're not good at that. You can see that. Everton's plan, as they set up, is very clear. Be a nice, tight, compact unit. And up until the goal, they were very good at it. They limited Villa. Villa didn't really have a shot on goal until the 60th minute when they got the penalty. After Everton had to come out, I don't think there was anyone was going to win that game but Villa. There's no plan B at the moment because they don't have the personnel to implement a plan B, and it makes it difficult. City have just scored against Bournemouth, which might be a saving grace at some point. This is it. We're not quite at the requiring snooker stage, but we're still we're certainly looking for safeties at this point. Do you know what? I'm not getting too downhearted about that today. I think they implemented the game plan well for the first hour. It's only after they had to change it that things looked a bit grim. So we dust ourselves down, we put it down to experience, and we move on to bigger games.
Yeah, sometimes in football you don't get what you deserve. Sometimes you get exactly what you deserve. That game was somehow both. Like we deserved a goal or two with our play pretty much up until like the 55th minute. But for Neil Maupay just being incapable of either getting the shot off or just turning on the spot and finishing, which should be bread and butter for any striker. We could have been out of sight in that game. So we deserved to be ahead, we weren't ahead, and then obviously you get what you deserve in that. Didn't take our chances. They had one big chance ahead of that. I think, did Pickford get fingers to that? Yeah. Outstanding save, and then seconds later, your man, McGinn was it, just waltzed into the box, and he always looked like he was going down, and Idrissa Gana Gueye's just done him a big favour and stuck the leg in. Obviously, other end of the pitch, I couldn't see it. I've heard people on Twitter say he got a toe to it. We've been told so many times over the years, if you get even a feather of a toe on the ball, it's not a penalty. That's gone against us so many times, and yet here we are now. But yeah, that's what happens. Like, Villa have done us a kipper there. They just absorbed what we gave them for an hour, and then they got a chance, they took it and not looked back. And the second one, I can't believe how much time and space we've given them. Like, the centre halves, they're just backing off and backing off. If Tarkowski backed off any further, he would have been in the goal. And he just, again, he just let him stroll through and then slots him Buendia. And I haven't seen the replay on often, but from my view, it did look like a cracking finish. So you got to give the nod there. But yeah, and then at the end, like, you're looking at people like 85 minutes and people are like getting off, the stands are emptying. And it wasn't so much like the disgust we felt in recent months. It was just more like, we've been here before, we know there's nothing coming now. We're not even getting a consolation goal. May as well, get on the train early, get back to pub. A full-time whistle was the booze, like, probably maybe smattering, but
only Bradley Taylor, not collectively.
I don't think there'll be as much anger as there was, say, after the likes of Brighton or Wolves, but as Keith said to me before, dust ourselves down and move on. Take it on, Shim.
I didn't think I'd be saying this, but I actually agree with all three of the lads. To be honest with you, I thought we were absolutely not abysmal. I thought it was shite. When people are saying it was close, I just never had a feeling that we had any sort of grit in what we were doing. It looked so weak, and sort of watching Villa come at us, it felt like they were always going to create a chance. There was going to be better than ours. Funnily enough, they didn't. We probably had the best chance before they scored the penalty, and it come to them. But I don't know whether it's just how I feel personally in life right now or whatever it is. But I am properly angry over that, just as much as any other game we've lost this season, because the momentum it felt like we have going into that game, having had the 2 home victories. I was actually looking forward to this today, because although Villa drove Arsenal close last week, I really fancied us at home. It felt like it was a fortress back at Goodison again. And given that we had an odd chance or two in the first half, I felt the teams were really close to each other. But then it was always Villa who looked more composed than us when they had the ball. I mean, mate, I've banged on about it all season. I started getting ripped a little bit on Twitter saying it, but it feels like we play with 10 men when Neil Maupay plays. I think he's fucking abysmal. I don't know how he's playing in the Premier League. I don't know what he offers. I don't know why Ellis Sims isn't playing, even though he might well be shit. I don't know, but he's a big fella who can keep the ball. That's more than what Maupay can do. What else are we doing going forward? What's the game plan? What does Dice do in training? Saying, this is the goal I want us to score this weekend. I want it to get out to McNeil. I want it to get out when Seamus is able to go forward, when anyone else on the pitch can cross it in. Well, Maupay's not going to score you the header. What else is he going to do? Just knock himself into someone and give away a free kick? Anthony Taylor was abysmal today. He was shocking refereeing. But I felt like I couldn't criticise him enough because we were at the races to get something if he was refereeing properly.
Well, I mean, we were saying before that if you could name a centre forward in the league who is the least suited of everyone to Dyche's way of playing, then Maupay's probably top of your list, isn't it?
We have to play him anyway. That was his 17th game. He scored 1 goal. What's the fucking point? What is the point? I'd rather want someone else there who's not a striker. Gray's on the bench, throw him there.
We said coming out of the game today, to echo your Ellis Sims point, he might be shit, but we're all ready to see a different version of shit now.
I'd rather see him tested than leave Maupay in there.
Whatever, however bad anyone else is in that position, we are not losing out. I found myself when Ellis Sims came on today, I thought, okay, we've gained a little bit of physical presence. Obviously from a finesse or a technique point of view, there's clearly a few things missing there. But when you try and break a striker down and think about the attributes that they have, when you take Neil Maupay off, what do you lose? If you say, well, we've brought Ellis Sims on and he's a big physical lad, and that there isn't anything, because there is no defining feature to the lad's game apart from he'll be a bit tenacious when you play against teams like Arsenal and United, and he'll be horrible for 20 minutes when you bring him on. There are so many Everton players in this squad that aren't strikers that I would rather see play as striker.
Absolutely right.
Onana, Gray, Iwobi, Michael Keane, all Carlo Nash, all of them, right? Every single one of them would offer us something a little bit more, and so many of these answers, Ellis Sims included, are the yard dog option. We're clearly going to go a bit more direct. It's going to be very sort of Farmers League footy. But if that's how we gain, what do we need realistically? 12 or 13 points? Then so be it. Because in what round does Neil Maupay score a goal for this team? It's if we have some form of unbelievable intricate build-up play. Like we saw against, who was it where we scored that unbelievable goal that McNeil scored, Palace at home? It has to be the perfect game and the perfect scenario in that game in order for him to score 1 goal. I mean, if we're all sat round here now, February, if someone said if Neil Maupay is going to get you 2 league goals between now and the end of the season, every one of us would bite your hand off. 2 goals, and this is a striker of Premier League standard that we've paid actual currency for.
Do you know what his game is? If he's going to play for us, is come on for the last 20 when you're 2-0 up and no one's asked.
Basically, he's never going to get on there.
Exactly. No, that's exactly it.
20 minutes against Arsenal.
It's like playing with 10 men. I put it on Twitter at our time. It's like playing with 10 men. And I was getting slated by a few saying, "Oh, you need to support him and all this." Well, what's he got to give you something to support? Fucking abysmal signing, 15 million.
The thing that I thought today was that Watkins had little glimpses in the game, and every situation he had the ball, he made it better. He made the chance for the team better with his movements, with his hold-up play. The one in the first half, he gets in behind Cody, his touch is great, and Pickford makes a good save. Second half, little spin off the back, good header, good save from Pickford. And every time he got the ball, he made more for his team. Whenever our lads got it, it just broke down. We made every situation worse by a slack touch or a poor decision. And I mean, what you do, Keith? Is there anything he can do? I mean, this, Matt was saying there about how you can get what you deserve, but you don't get what you deserve sometimes. I think the people who got what they deserved today probably weren't in the ground because they weren't there again today, based on what happened with January in terms of not bringing in the right players.
I think largely an issue with Mopey is we're playing him in a role that he shouldn't be playing in. He's not physically suited to that lone striker, high press, win the header role, right? So do you gamble, change the shape and go to a 4-4-2 and play him as a second striker off a big man and see whether or not that unlocks a bit of his game? We've got him now. We're not selling him. We're not just going to leave him out of the 16, 17, however many fucking subs there are now, I don't know. I mean, it's like 9 subs now, isn't it? Like 20 match day, that's disgusting.
We had 5 defenders on the bench today.
So, do you take that gamble? And when we go 1-0 down there, do you say, right, okay, we're chasing the game. Let's lose the defensive shape. Let's throw Sims on for a midfielder. And then big man, small man. It's very industrial, shall we say. But is it worth trying just to see if we get something out of him that way? Because you've got him there. You're paying him money. We've paid a fee for him. Let's try and find something that he's good at rather than just going, right, okay, well, he's shit, but he's fast, so we'll play him. I have a big problem today with how Everton pressed, right? You looked at times we turned them onto the back foot and Onana or Doucouré came out from midfield, pressed the back 4 when they tried to play out from the back, which is great. But if you've only got 2 players doing it and they've got 4 options to pass the ball out, it's never going to work. It looks great and it gets the crowd up, but it was all too easy time and time again for Villa to pass their way out. So if you're going to press like that, send the house.
See, I thought we won it enough in good areas doing that, and we just messed it up like so many times. Like in the second half in particular, like every time they tried to play out, it's like, go ahead, do it, because we're just going to win the ball back here. But it was just every time we got it, it was like, oh, we've got it now, dead frantic, and they made loads of mistakes. And Iwobi in particular, I think today, got it loads and just like panicked and just gave it away.
I think we won it a couple of times and we looked good when we won it, but that was as a result of Villa trying to play the ball into midfield rather than when they played the short passes between the fullback, the centre half and the CDM that dropped in. They passed round us and they got out far too easily time and time again. But it's one of them. You've got to take these lessons from these games and move on. The next thing I want to do is I want to throw a little tick grenade into the conversation, get everyone riled up, and start the debate on, is that the one? I'm practically having a piggyback over the halfway line, and he shrugged him off, and he gave them a free kick and booked Doucouré. What on earth was that? Honestly, have you seen a worse refereeing performance?
Why did Onana get booked at the start?
Do you know what? He never even gave a foul. I think he gave a booking because the linesman's gone. You should probably book him.
Wasn't there a VAR check for a red card? And he said it wasn't. I think my brother said there was a VAR check for a red card. They said it's not a red, so therefore it's a yellow. But none of them saw it.
No. There's absolutely no denying that Anthony Taylor was bullied heavily at school by a Scouse kid, and he is exacting his revenge today because that was vile.
I think the point you made, I agree with you, Matt, in that I think we won the ball enough times in good areas to come away from that game. We should all be sitting here and saying, I can't believe that they persisted with what they were doing, playing out from the back. We were always going to pick them off, and we made them pay for it. We were probably, I'm trying to think of an ideal player in that situation, but the closest I can think of, we were probably a Stephen Pienaar away from making that look quite comfortable. Someone in an advanced area who, in that situation, you give him the ball and say, please make the correct decision for me. He's not going to be the one who hits the back of the net every time, but he will pick the correct pass or he'll make the right decision. And I think that level of know-how just clearly wasn't there. think just to pick up on what Keith said about the whole kind of the big man, little man potential for Maupay, and I think that is the only way it would work. I think the only realistic way we're going to see that on a regular basis is what we saw against Leeds last week, where we say to Amadou and Nana, we need you to be the most advanced of that three. You know, that's probably, as I say, on a regular basis, that's the most realistic chance that Maupay's got as having a strike partner. I think Onana had a good game last week, but I don't look back and think, well, Neil Maupay really benefited from having him alongside him. He was crap and he got hooked, and everyone said Ellis Sims offered so much more when he came on. And I think, you know,
how low's the bar though for that, mate?
You know what I mean? I will make accountabilities for some footballers to get into this team if it benefits the whole 11. But he is not someone who we need to kind of work into this team in some form of weird niche way. You know, there are alternatives, and he is simply not going to offer us what we need. I think, you know, he obviously looks like someone who needs support up top, but I know on paper it's one of our strongest areas of the pitch, but I don't look at those three lads in midfield and say, well, any two of you will be fine without the other one. We simply cannot afford to play 4-4-2. Now, I have people around me today saying, you know, we need to get one of those central midfielders further advanced up the pitch. We need to have more shots on goal at a quicker pace, which I actually agree with. But you look at those three lads in the middle. If I asked any one of them to have a shot on goal and hit the target, I genuinely don't think they'd manage it more than 1 out of 3 or 4 times. They are not kickers of a football. And I know that's crazy to say about them, but Idris Gueye and Onana and Decore, who, albeit haven't put a few games together, looks like his head falls off as soon as he gets into the attacking third of the pitch. There is simply not enough there to be an attacking threat when there's 3 of them, never mind when there's only 2 of them. I think we'd very quickly get overrun if we tried to change the setup. So the only way around that is to change the personnel, and Maupay is the obvious one.
Just going back to what Mo said then about we were missing like a Pienaar direct player. I think credit where due, we had that today in McNeil. That might be the best performance I've seen from him. He was picking it up so much. He was putting it on a plate all day. There was just no one there, like no one finishing it.
Was he putting it on a plate? I feel like every cross he had went straight to Martinez.
No, in the first half, he did give him quite a few.
Some were deflected, to be fair, in that first half. But, you know, there's no point putting it on the plate if they're one sitting at the table. And unfortunately, you know, whatever the situation is with Calvert-Lewin, we've obviously heard after the game today that he's not going to be playing in midweek. If that situation is a sacrifice to have him back for next weekend, then fair enough. But there is absolutely no point crossing this ball into the box unless it's a second phase from a corner and Onana and Tarkovsky and Cody are all still there. It's a pointless tactic as long as Maupay's in the box, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And yeah, you are right. McNeil did give it to the goalie in the first half quite a lot. And you just reminded me of something there. I make it at least 4 times today that one of our players played a lot like a direct diagonal ball and hit our own player in the back. Have they been practicing that? Like, I was
turning around and having a look at it.
I was losing my mind about it. It's like, how many times are we going to do? Every time it felt dangerous as well, set them up for a counter attack. It was just absolutely bizarre. But yeah, I agree with Keith about the big man, little man thing. Like, I think it's just logical. Drop Gueye and just start 2 strikers. It's simple as that. Like, just try something different. Might not do it on Wednesday. We got nothing to lose from that game. It's, you know, it's not a write-off. No game's a write-off, but if there's ever a time to try something a bit weird, it's in a game that no one's looking as, you know, a desperate must-win 3 points.
Do you not think with that, and a little bit of devil's advocate here with that, if you're going to play big man, little man up front, us going to 4-4-2, which is what Dice is known for when he had Barnes and yeah, all that shit.
Dice never played big man, little man. He played big man, big man, big man, big man.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. If you go,
Duncan Ferguson.
if you go 4-4-2, it becomes like catch-22 for us because we haven't got 2 big fellas to throw up there. to go for fucking Sims and Calvert-Lewin, if you're thinking back to that, you know what I mean?
I also think that the midfield too stresses me out more
Exactly,
than that. You know, Idrissa Gueye, he
Would you drop out, you take the corner out, that's a natural thing.
Idrissa Gueye has to be one of those two because he's the only one who does any defending. I appreciate his defending wasn't good today, but you're right, Decore has to come out, and then, you know, the disparity between Gueye and Onana is just so vast. They are not a partnership. You know, they are part of a trio that would be fearsome at times, but you take any one of those three out the middle and we simply get overrun every week.
We'll leave it there, I think. Done 25 minutes on that game. Disappointing all round. Cheers to Dave, Mose, Keith and Matt. City are 2-0 up now anyway, so there is that. Hopefully Bournemouth aren't going to overturn that and come back and put a spare in the mire. Back to the glory days of cheering for Man City, isn't it? What we all like to do. But only Arsenal next away, and then a big game against Forest on Sunday, which is obviously huge. But cheers for tuning in today. Up the Toffees. We'll speak to you soon.